Okay, so
Hello, manga fans. It is your friends Sarah Palmer from the Kensington Library and
Linda Yao from Northeast Regional.
both from the Free Library of Philadelphia. So today we are going to focus on manga genres. And so our plan is to give a brief rundown of each genre. Then we'll take turns doing that. Then for each genre, each of us will mention one or two favored titles. And then we'll maybe just do a quick list of some other ones you may have heard of. Or some that you may not have and might be interested in, but we won't say anything more about them. All right. So I'm going to pull up my handy dandy guide here. There we are. So I get to start, and I get to start with the shoujo genre. And so in this case, when we're speaking about genres, we're speaking about genres as in the intended market share or the intended primary audience that titles were designated for in Japan. This is not to say that those titles speak to a much broader audience in either Japan or elsewhere in the world now. But that was the original marketing, and it also determined what magazines a lot of them appeared in originally. So, in the case of shoujo, it's aimed primarily at teenage girls, and that often reflects who the protagonists or the main characters are, the point of view characters. You could say that the art style tends to be, or certainly stereotypically is, softer or more ethereal than most other genres targeted at other official audiences. You wanted to hop in with something there?
I think it is in the eyes. I'm not kidding. It's the eyes. The typical manga eyes is in shoujo.
Yes. Yes. When people think of you show us this eyes. When people think of manga eyes, especially people who are familiar with manga or anime on a very superficial level, the eyes they are thinking of are very often shoujo manga eyes, and they can be. I mean, not only are they huge in somebody's face, in the character's face, but they even show up as huge on the page. Like a whole frame can just be somebody's eye. And they really do a lot of the storytelling within shoujo. But let's not get into that more deeply. I wanted to talk a little bit about the subgenres that you frequently see. Not to say that there's not a large variety. You will often see school life shoujo manga, including a lot of romance stories within that context, usually high school level, although you could think of some that start in elementary level, like Cardcaptor Sakura. There's
or college level.
Or college
level.
Yeah. But I'd say high school, middle school, and high school lands fully in the center of the genre. Then Magical Girl is a key subgenre that is also one of the most widely known outside of fandom aspects of anime and manga. You will also see some historical shoujo manga, and sometimes a mystery can be a plot element, whether it's school life or magical girl or fantasy. And fantasy itself can cover a wide range of things, from fantasy combined with school life to fantasy in a completely different world. Well, I think I'm going to leave it at that and go to my example titles. So, one of my first loves among among manga was Fruits Basket. And I am going to see if I can pull up for you and share. Let me find my link. One moment, please.
You realize that Yen Press rescued Fruit Basket.
Yes.
Tokyo Pop was originally
Fruits
the
Basket,
one who bought it over.
Yeah, it was a flagship title for Tokyo Pop, but then Tokyo Pop did what Tokyo Pop did, and thankfully Yen Press rescued it. And so here we go.
And did it in omnibus form. Otherwise, we'll be buying 20+ manga.
That's right.
Titles.
Thank you, Yen, for all you do for fans everywhere. Okay, why are you doing this thing? Hang on just 1 second. I'm going to go find you, Yen.
And I know that Free Libraries, Teen Central in Parkway Central does have Fruit Baskets. And there's gonna.
Yes. Yes, I don't know. I could say that there's almost certainly. Oh, here's somebody. Hello, Brian. We're not going to. I'm going to hide you for the moment because we haven't asked you yet if you wanted to be broadcast to the world. So I'm going to hide you, and we're going to involve people's conversation with us after our presentation. But we're really looking forward to hearing from you. So we were going to be talking right now about Fruits Basket, and give me one moment. Share screen. Where are you? There you are. And here we have Fruits Basket, representing many key elements that we were talking about with regards to the genre. You see the giant eyes. In fact, I almost did not pick up Fruits Basket because the eyes were just too large for me. But I gave it a chance, and the story helped me, and there we go. So a very quick rundown of Fruits Basket. Our protagonist, Toru, is a very humble, very, I wouldn't say down to earth. She's an orphan. She has just been orphaned. She is living it rough, trying to keep on a brave face for her friends. But she comes into contact with this mysterious family, and that's where mystery comes in. And it's a very mysterious and wealthy family of people who just happen to attend her high school. And I will very quickly, I will spoil just a little bit to say that when she comes into members of this family who are of the opposite gender, when she comes into physical contact with them, specifically embracing them, they turn into the animals of the Chinese zodiac, the 12 animals of the Chinese zodiac plus one. And there's a whole lot of family trauma embedded in that. There's also a lot of comedy embedded in that. And to some degree, there's some love triangles. But there's a lot of different romance stories happening all across the board. I came to find affection for everyone, even the supposed villainous, slightly more villainous characters. And the translation, which I hope is still the same in Yen, was a really well-written one. I just loved how the humor was conveyed. Did you want to say anything quickly about that, Linda?
Well, I know one thing is that I wanted to ask you, Sarah, are
Yeah.
you excited about the follow-up series that's coming out? I think it's Fruit Basket Another.
I have read the follow-up series and I enjoyed it, but it's Fruits Basket.
It's to be released.
No, it's through. It's out.
Is it out? Okay.
Yeah, and so that takes it a generation later. And Fruits Basket the original series had a habit of sort of keeping things close to its vest. It would reveal characters a little bit at a time, not always showing their faces. I mean, as we gradually got to know more and more of the characters, more and more of the Zodiac and beyond. But,
I really
and
like
that's,
go
on.
I really like the dragon in Fruit Baskets.
I love the dragon fruits basket also. And I don't know if it's sort of like the how Charlie Brown never shows the parents, even though it's the generation after all these characters, and so naturally we would want to see what they looked like as grown-ups. I'll spoil it for you and say you only see at most outline, I mean silhouettes of what they look like as grown-ups. So don't expect to see aged up Toru up close and personal. You might hear her, but you won't see her really. Okay, that's enough on Fruits Basket. Let's see how we're doing for time. I have at least one more. And then I'll give you a chance to expound on any shoujo before moving on to the next section. So, the other title I wanted to mention is my beloved, where am I now? Okay, I'm going to stop share. My beloved, oh, it looks like we lost our participant. Well, I hope he will be back someday. So, my beloved Yona of the Dawn, Akatsuki no Yona. And, I'm sorry. As usual, I need to find my way back to my page. Okay, so Fruits Basket is notable in that it started in English. It was started becoming available to us in English in 2004. Yona of the Dawn started to become available to us in English in 2016. So it's a whole different generation. And it's also a whole different take on fantasy. We've got the world building of what you might say is sort of like the ancient medieval China, medieval Japan type setting, with I'd say that the costumes probably resemble more ancient Japan, ancient China, but it is not actually any of those countries. And our main character is a young princess who's very preoccupied by her long red hair, her manageable red hair, and very much in love with one of her childhood friends, and very much annoyed by another of her childhood friends. But all her life changes when her father, the king, is assassinated by none other than the person she loves the most. So she becomes a princess on the lam, and what she doesn't realize is that she is the key to an ancient legend in her country, an ancient legend that she did not realize had been alive all this time. The legend of the 4 dragons of Koka. And what I love about this book, this series, is that Yona evolves from being a protected, spoiled princess to becoming, she moves through the process of grief and anger, and she also becomes aware of her own strengths and of what she cares about most, which is not her love interest, not just her family, it is her own country. She realizes how much she loves her country and what she will do to protect the people of her country. And all the associated characters are charming, and even the love interest who killed her father, you can't just dismiss him and you can't just hate him. There is a lot to look at in Yona. Okay, done. You.
Oh, hello. I am going to speed talk two of favorite titles I really enjoy. The first one happens to be Behind the Scenes, and it is by Bisco Hattori. You would probably know about Hattori's other work, Oden's High School Host Club, but this is based on the perspective of Ramaru. He is a college freshman, and he happens to join the university's set design club, the art squad. The college actually has 3 acting troupes that constantly need sets, props, fashion, and designs. Designs. This story is lighthearted, and it shares some similarities with Genshiken and Paradise Kiss, and maybe Hana Kimi if you're trying to do a stretch with the three academies or three different groups. But the thing is that its ties with Genshiken and Paradise Kiss is that both have similarities with surviving college while being part of a club, or just the practice of, or just the industry aspect, which Paradise Kiss talks a lot about fashion. And then it is, so there's a lot of, it's a lot also an aspect behind the scenes, a lot about creating ephemeral items for just a short period of time, meaning that if they created a set prop, it usually goes away at the end of the conclusion of a play or something like that. And it gets recycled. So that's it for my first title. And my second title.
One quick thing about Behind the Scenes is that it's one example of a number of examples of shoujo titles which have at their center male characters. And in our quick rattled off list of other titles, there will be a few others like that. Go on.
Okay, so my second title happens to be Karakuri Odette, which is by Julieta Suzuki. And this happens to be the same mangaka who wrote Kami-sama Kiss. But this one is a much more shorter series. It was also published by Tokyo Pop.
It was.
It was, and this story is about it's a science fiction story about an android named Odette Yoshizawa. So she gets enrolled into high school by her creator to learn how humans feel and what emotions would they, have. And so this manga actually might be out of print, or it's pretty expensive, at least according to Amazon. So this is pretty much, that is a blurb I have about it because it was such a short series. Read-alike titles happen to be Chobits or Key, the Metal Idol, which are both about androids trying to discover the wonders of being a human. And those 2 titles I mentioned, Chobits and Key, the Metal Idol, are old titles, pretty old titles. So you may not even have, maybe Chobits you have heard about, but Key, the Metal Idol, probably not. Have you ever heard of it? Sarah? No?
Hold on. I think my sound is not working.
Oh, your sound is not working. I can hear you.
Oh, you can? It says your speakers. Okay. Oh, my speaker is not working. Okay. So long as you can hear me, that's the main thing. But I can hear you, so I don't know what it's talking about. Anyway.
Okay, sure.
Okay, yeah. So one thing about those out-of-print titles, don't forget the option of interlibrary loan once we are back online with such services, because that is how I have enjoyed several titles that you can no longer buy. Okay, so I wanted to do our rapid fire listing of other titles. In the genre, we have, and these are just a few of many, Kimi no Todoke, From Me to You, Karekano, or His and Her Circumstances, of course, Sailor Moon, Clover, we already mentioned Hanakimi, and which is To You in Full Bloom is the full version of the English, and in addition to Cardcaptor Sakura, which we mentioned, there's also many, many, many clamp titles. Vampire Knight, Monkey High, Lovely Complex, and many Yu Watase titles. And I wanted to mention two other titles with male protagonists that I really recommend, Natsume's Book of Friends and Children of the Whales. And now we are going to move on to Shonen, and take it away.
Okay, well, I was going to say two shoujo titles, Hana Yori Dango and Marmalade Boy. Those are pretty old titles, I guess.
Yeah,
Okay,
Boys Over Flowers is another way of saying Hana Yori Dango.
So I'm going to be talking about shonen titles, and shonen is usually targeted towards young boys. The kanji is talking about youth. It's either youth or young boys. And so it oftentimes when you think about shonen titles, right? It's a lot about adventure. It usually focuses on one protagonist. It's usually like the hero, or there's a story about talking about conflicts and maybe the process of trying to gain a certain goal or theme. So you might have a lot of titles that are usually translated in English are mostly shonen titles. So you may have actually some titles that you like or not of shonen titles, all right? So the two titles I really want to talk about is, one of them is Gintama. Gintama is by Hideki Sorachi. And this story takes place in an alternate Edo period where it centers around the company called Yorozuya, which is an odd jobs company, meaning that anyone can hire that company and they'll do random tasks for you. This entire series is lots and lots of parodies and hilarious comedies alongside the serious and oftentimes adventures, all right? Aspects, all right? So one of my favorites is when the group is Gintama, Gintoki, and there's two other characters, all right? I cannot remember the life of me for what their names are. Kagura and Shinpachi. So one of my favorite parts of it is when the group was hired to wait online for the latest release of the console, of a gaming console. And this one it was very funny, but also is that there is another part in the, anime title as well as the manga title, where they were asked to take care of a monkey, and the monkey happens to have a very long name, even longer than supercalifragilisticexpialidocious that is from Mary Poppins. That's even more longer. So the monkey's name is shortened to Jugemu. So his full name is about 5.5 words of lines worth. It's a very long name. So the manga happens to not be finished in English. It's licensed by Viz, which is also the English company for Shueisha, which is also a very big shonen title company. So the thing is that read likes. If you ever wanted to read for the character aspects, Cowboy Bebop might be a similar title. And for the random timings in most of the episodes of Gintama, or the titles of Gintama, it's Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei. And as well as any crossover with any and all of Shonen Jump titles, because Gintoki happens to like a fictionalized version of Shonen Jump. So there is a lot of references to Dragon Ball, to One Piece, to Bleach. You could see that. And then as well as there is an actual crossover with Sketch Dance. And there is an anime series that went beyond the manga. That's a very surprising aspect. The manga never caught up with the anime. And so it's one of the more interesting titles. So another of my favorite titles happened to be Future Diaries. It's by Sakai Esuno. It is also known as Mirai no Nikki. So, And it's about a deadly game for a scavenger hunt between a group of players who try to outwit each other in a choose-your-own-adventure-esque hunt, with each of them carrying a diary that fit their personalities on how other players are represented in their own eyes, such as they would have like diaries that describe other players like stalkers or like victims or like criminals, because the characters have their own perception of the humanity, right? So it also means that some of the diaries can be representative as notebooks, cell phones, or even coloring books.
Mm-hmm.
So for this one, the read likes could be Bokurano Hours, Death Note, Dead Man Wonderland, or Liar Game. So Mirai Nikki actually has a live action and an anime series. So if you want to say anything, Sarah, do you want to say anything? Because I gave some really obscure, I think I gave obscure titles.
I would.
It's very niche.
I feel like those two are, I mean, at the very least, Gintama there's some holdings in the library, so that, people who have visited our collections might have seen it. And I think it's such an interesting mix with, I remember seeing the costuming definitely being Edo style, and then you've got the video game waiting online, which is an interesting combo. So I might delve into that sometime, though it sounds very sad that the manga may not be continuing.
Well, they discontinued it. Viz actually discontinued it. But it's okay. It's one of those things, and so, well, we could probably try to you could either catch it as Scanlation copy, or you could try and go out and read the manga in Japanese, or just look at the pictures of the Japanese manga.
We're not mad, we're just disappointed. So the two titles I wanted to highlight, both of them are in the library system, and one of them is beloved to my heart from a long time ago. It was released in English starting from 2004, and it's Hikaru no Go. This starts with the main character in elementary school, a young boy who's kind of a devil-may-care young lad who is on the hunt for some pocket change, and so he decides to raid his grandfather's attic. And what he finds in his grandfather's attic, it's an old stained Go board, a board for playing the game of Go. So he notices this stain, and when he mentions it, a voice behind him says, "You can see it?" And it turns out that the board is haunted by the ghost of a long ago Go player from the Heian era, Sai no Fujiwara, or Fujiwara no Sai, rather. And Sai is clinging to this earth, the spirit is clinging to this earth because because of his love for the game of Go, and because he longs to play the hand of God, basically being the divine move in the game of Go. And he has actually haunted another person before. He haunted somebody who's actually a real famous historical Go player, and of course I'm forgetting his name. But anyway, real guy, and who is known to Go players everywhere. And so, but that guy died tragically of a pandemic, and in the 1800s, and so Sai has been clinging to this Go board ever since. And so Hikaru just knows Go as this weird game old people play, and he's like, "I'm not going to play this for you the way that I did." But the thing is, when Sai is sad, it turns literally makes Hikaru sick to his stomach, and so Hikaru decides he might as well give it a chance. And he does not expect that he is going to get hooked on this game the way he does. The very first Go salon he goes into happens to have this young boy in it who is none other than Akira, the son of the Toya family of Go players. And Akira outclasses all other kids his age. But Hikaru, the first time he's ever played the game of Go, challenges Akira to a game. And of course, Sai is playing the game through him, and Sai trounces Akira. And so this gets Akira, I mean, this upsets Akira's entire life. And so he immediately goes after trying to figure out what Hikaru's deal is. And this in turn really gets Hikaru interested in why is this so important to him. So this evolves so that first Hikaru joins the middle school Go club, then he becomes he becomes a student in the Go society, and he eventually takes the exams to try to become a professional Go player. And so this carries Hikaru through into his high school years, or at least that age. But as he evolves, his relationship with Sai evolves as well. And Sai has to reevaluate what his role is when Hikaru is becoming a Go player in his own right. Honinbo, that's the name of the famous historic player. And expect tears, but expect humor and just a really rich, it's an ode to the game of Go. It's whoever reads it learns a lot more than they ever thought they would about the game of Go. You also learn about how kids can grow up. I don't know if you want to say anything else about Hikaru no Go.
So it is one of the series that is in the Japanese. It created a revival for the game Iko in Japan, and for other countries as well. A read-alike title happens to be Sangetsu no Lion. March comes in like a lion. I don't know if you ever heard of it, and that is a shogi manga title. And it talks about the game, the anime and manga, and it talks about shogi, the game shogi. And any other games that they could talk about?
Well,
there's think about.
One thing to say about the genre of shonen that I mean, we didn't really look at some of the subgenres, and one of the huge subgenres is sports, of which Hikaru no Go is sort of technically a part, although we know it's really a game. And so shonen can cover it, things from action to sports, mystery to sci-fi, fantasy, and the art styles also range from very spiky and stylized to relatively realistic. And there are some overlaps in the shorthand of anime and manga. The sweat drop shows up in both the shoujo and shonen, for example, and the popping vein and all that. But you can definitely, shonen is just older and more, the art is more individual, more frequently than with shoujo, I would say.
Not disagreeing with you, Sara.
Yeah. I would love to talk about this other title, but I think we are running short on time. So I'm just going to mention this title as one I love, and then also mention some of the other titles. Two that I love. One is Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun, which is sometimes classed as shoujo because it has a hint of romance, but it's also humor. And another thing about shonen is that you will often see gag manga in shonen, which are the 4-koma, the 4-panel manga, or at least some of the story is told in 4-koma, 4 panels. So at the top of the page, you see the theme of the 4 panels, and then the sort of punchline at the end, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, 4-koma in general are fun, and Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun in particular is a lot of fun. And it's also, it introduces you to, in a humorous way, to the lives of mangaka. and their editors. The other title that I was going to mention, but we don't have time for, is Barakamon. Nozaki started in 2015 in English, and Barakamon started in 2014 in English, and that actually features an adult young man who, a calligrapher who goes off to a remote island and is sort of plunked down among the locals and has to figure his own where he is and what he's doing with his life. Other titles include Kekaishi, another one that I love, and I'm not going to mention to you any more than that. And where's the rest of the list? Okay, here we go. Full Metal Alchemist, Silver Spoon, Nabari no O, Horimiya. Oh, and you had more time, you might mention Igamibachi, Dr. Slum, Haikyuu, One Piece, Yu Yu Hakusho, and and of course the ones that everybody knows: Naruto, Bleach, My Hero Academia, One Punch Man, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Inuyasha, Mine, Attack on Titan. Black Butler is actually considered a shonen. Soul Leader, Devil is a Part-Timer, Prince of Tennis, Steve Raymond, Fairy Tail, Shaman King. Do you pronounce it Magi? I think you pronounce it Magi. Ranma One Half, Cross Game, Gegege no Kitaro, Dragon Ball, Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicle, which is Clamp, but it's shonen, and Death Note. There we go.
Oh wait, Holic. Holic is also a shonen title.
Holic?
I think.
Actually, it was listed as Josei, according to what I.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I mean, there are these things that sort of are hard to place.
So it actually, with the Josei title, actually brings us to our next category.
Yes. Speaking of Josei, so if shoujo really was initially aimed at the high school female demographic, female identifying demographic, we've got Josei, which is targeted at the young woman, like the college age through 20s, 30s, excuse me, I'm scrolling down. So there are a variety of themes and age ranges. Though as is the case with shoujo, the protagonist is usually a woman or a female person. So
there's a lot of working titles.
A lot of working women in this genre.
Slice of life working titles.
Yes. Give me a moment. So the art style, it can be a little more varied, I'd say, than shoujo. But I think you could say in some ways that story is everything in shoujo, and probably you could also say that shoujo is most of what josei is about. And skipping over to, I actually only had one title I wanted to talk about in josei, partly because a lot of the titles that I like in josei are not licensed as manga. And one of the ones that I really like that you also listed, I don't think is available in English as a manga legally, was Gokusen. But I will leave you to talk about.
Yeah. I think Gokusen was released in English.
Only as an anime, is what I could know. But
I would love
to be wrong about that, so maybe we can provide the info after. But the title I wanted to mention is Oku, the Inner Chambers. So this is a story that takes us back into Japanese history, but takes an alternate course. So this is what would happen if there was a red-faced fox that hit Edo-era Japan and afflicted only young men. So instead of the long list of emperors that ruled Japan, there were women who took their place, and very often took their names in this manga. For centuries, this manga series does. And for a title that covers centuries, you would think, to be so broad, it's not going to be very deep, but it gets pretty deep, and as you might expect of an imperial history, you've got a lot of intrigue, you've got a lot of murder and assassination, you've got a lot of tragic sacrifice, and you get some history lessons, even though it's alternate history. That alternate history reflects what actually did take place in a lot of ways. It just has a very interesting spin on it. Fumi Yoshinaga is an author who writes many things, including BL, other josei titles such as Antique Bakery, which has a hint of BL, but it's not BL, and
not love, but just type. Wait, there was one title that she wrote.
Oh yeah,
not
Love but Delicious Foods or something like that. All My Darling Daughters, and then very well known What Did You Eat Yesterday, which is available as manga, live action, and maybe anime. I'm not sure.
That's no, there is no manga anime for that one. But you just list a BL title, an underrated BL title.
You mean What Did You Eat Yesterday?
Yeah, it is
Yeah,
BL.
I mean, it does have a gay
BL
relationship,
title.
but it's more than. I feel like I read a little bit of it. Is it mainly just that one relationship?
It has two relationships in that one. And we're going into another tangent, so I literally
we are leaving BL and GL and all LGBTQ related titles for another time, because we actually love those two and we have a lot to say about them separately. So, but I wanted to say that in connection with Fumi Yoshinaga. She is a woman of many talents. And now, what you wanted to say.
Okay, so the two josei titles I want to talk about. One of them is the one that I think everyone should probably have heard about is Wotakoi. It is Love is Hard for Otaku by Fujita. So this series actually happens to be an office romance between several different couples. But the main couple are both childhood friends who are both otaku. So there's a mention of lots and lots of aspects of being a Japanese otaku. And they are actually in the closet, so to say, because it's hard to actually reveal to the world that they actually do have this hobby, all right? So there is a mention about gaming, manga reading, cosplay, figure collection, and other otaku niche subjects such as going to Comiket. So this series actually has an anime series and it has a live action movie. So both of these, so similarities for this title or reader likes for this title is Genshiken, or it's an older title known as Densha Otoko that was licensed in English by Viz, CMX, and Del Rey. The latter two publishers are no longer around, all right?
Live action movie too.
The live action movie, it was licensed in English, and Discotek has it. I think Discotek has it.
Yeah.
Still.
Just realized.
What's that one? No. The second title I want to talk about is actually a really recent release. It is Sweat and Soap, and it's by Kintetsu Yamada. So this happens to be an adult title because it's an adult romance title. So there are adult themes with this one. So this talks about Asako, who is a accountant of some sort. She deals with numbers and finances. She works at Lily Drop, which is a toiletry company where it's very similar to like Bath and Body Works or the Body Shop. So it's a company that produces fragrance and bath items. All right. She happens to have an excessive amount of body odor. So she uses all the products from the company that she works at. So she talks about an employee discount with it, right? And then she ends up meeting Kotaro, who is a fragrance maker at the same company. He actually smelled her out, her body odor. He actually smelled her out, just like a dog. That sounds so wrong, right? Oh my gosh. So he becomes obsessed with her natural body odor. So there's only a manga title for this book, for this series, all right? The only other series that I could think of as a read-alike, which happens to be published in English by Vertical, is Mysterious Girlfriend X, which talks about the boy loving the girl's saliva. Yeah. This is really unique. So I like so other josei titles I probably could have mentioned is Nana or like what else is there? Do you know what other josei titles are there? Paradise Kiss.
Yes,
Paradise
I actually
Kiss.
have a long list of them that I am going to rattle off for you.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, we've got Kurage Hime, Princess Jellyfish, Chihaya Furu, interestingly classed as this, as josei rather than shoujo, which is what I would have thought. Kazehikaru, which is, Kazehikaru is interesting, but I'm not going to go into that. And Idle Dreams, which is available through the free library.
It's by Arina Tanemura.
Yeah.
Who is an amazing shoujo art manga.
Yeah. And we've got Everyone's Getting Married, Honey and Clover, Bunny Drop, Devils, and Realist. And I realized that I didn't get to share some pictures. I want to share some pictures. Can I share some pictures, please?
Yeah.
Okay, let me do it quickly. Ready? So I wanted to share pictures of Hikaru no Go. So because it's cool.
That has a great anime soundtrack.
I love the anime soundtrack. It conveys the pathos as well as the fun.
It does.
Give me a second. I'm looking for my Zoom window, of course, as usual. Okay. Ready? Share screen. Hikaru, where did you go? I know you're here somewhere. Oh, there you are. So look at these. What's not to love about that little face with the party-colored hair? That's Hikaru. There's Akira. And you see, through the covers, you see him growing up. You see both of them growing up along with their colleagues. And yeah.
And their contemporaries.
So. Yeah.
And
they're, well, these two are rivals, but then there's a rival to the rivals. And yes, it's an amazing series. Okay, so that was Hikaru no Go. We've got also, I have the links. I had the links. Okay, thank you for your patience in this matter. I did the bibs. Okay, I know you're here. Here you are. Okay, so Barakamon. The interesting thing about the Viz website, well, both Yen and Viz have to show you both physical and digital editions. And okay, share screen. Here's Barakamon, and as you can tell, the calligraphy theme through the title itself, and you can also tell how it's a huge ensemble cast, but always with Kanda at the center, and Naru, the young girl who befriends him. And there's even a spin-off series called Kanda-kun about his lackluster high school years.
And Free Library owns it. So
owns both series.
I'm having it on my to hold list. I think I went over to my, you could actually create like lists. If you log into Free Library, you could actually create lists where you could actually remind yourself to put it on hold.
Yeah.
So I have actually maxed out one of the lists. I went over 50 titles.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know you could. Depend on you to have maxed it out. And lastly, this is all still the shonen that I'm calling back to. This is Nozaki-kun. You can see all the implements of manga torture that appear, and it's so much fun.
I
And
laughed a couple of times when I was reading this manga.
just a couple.
It's a long time. It's like we have up to volume 8, and so it's already 3 volumes behind.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's true. Give me a second. I have also the link to Oku, my one and only Josei selection.
Yes,
So,
Oku actually has a live action. Was it?
and
Is
it
it
has a
licensed
live
in
action.
English?
You are so right.
Is it licensed in English? I think there's 2 series. There's 2 seasons of Oku with 2 different casts.
Well, given that it's covering so many centuries, I'm not a bit surprised. Give me a second. Okay, so Oku, this is yep, it starts at volume 1 and it's at volume let's see, I think this is the most recently released one, volume 16, volume 17, and counting. So yes, a whirlwind tour, well, not quite whirlwind, but a tour through history seen a different way. And this is the trademark style of Fumi Yoshinaga, although you don't usually see them in this glorious historical wear. Usually she
definitely doesn't usually do historical type contemporary. She always does contemporary manga.
Yeah, but you can clearly see it's not that she doesn't do it because she can't, because she surely can. Okay, so now it's Seinen, starring Linda.
Okay, sure. Seinen titles. If Josei is targeted towards women of 20s, 30s, college age, and so Seinen actually covers men who are probably maybe 20s, 30s, 40s, because I know a lot of people who really enjoy seinen titles. And so seinen titles are usually, it covers the gamut because a lot of titles you don't expect to be licensed as a seinen title. It actually does get to be published in a seinen magazine. So Chi's Sweet Home is one of them that brings to mind, that you don't expect that to be an seinen title. I think Laid Back Camp is also another one that you do not expect, because it's a 4-koma style, but you also expect it to be like a shoujo title or shoujo title or josei title. But that is also a seinen title. So I actually do have 2 titles I could talk about.
Please do.
And I am very passionate about those 2 titles. One of them is known as The Walking Man. It's by the late Jiro Taniguchi. He passed away a couple of years ago. So the art in this book, it's only 1 book, all right? It is amazing, and the details are just lovely. The story is about a Japanese salaryman who works during the day, but then afterwards he takes long walks around his neighborhood in urban Japan. So he speaks about enjoying the simplicity of life as he takes these walks, all right, after a long day of working as a salaryman. So the author, Taniguchi, he has this amazing line drawing that makes it a stunning book. So this is the ultimate slice of life, because you can literally see this as real life as it can be. So I enjoy mostly his emulating this book because he has a great attitude towards walking. This book actually has similarities to the feels found in Mushishi. So there's actually another book that Jiro Taniguchi is known for, and it's known as Solitary Gourmet, which is about a Japanese salaryman who goes to every single eatery and he just reviews it. He eats there by himself.
Is that Oishinbo? What's the name of it?
It's Solitary Gourmet.
Oh, you just said it. Yeah, sorry. Go on.
Oh, okay, sure. So the second one I really wanted to talk about is Hozuki no, well, the English title is Hozuku's Cool-Headedness. It's by Natsumi Eguchi. But I actually know this manga as Hozuki's no Retsetsu because there is an anime title that Crunchyroll streams. So it only has a digital release. It's from Kodansha, and there's only There's only two books I got as a digital copy, and it is about Hozuki. So he is a deputy administrative assistant of Emma Dio in Jigoku, and this is a Japanese version of hell. So the series pretty much is about looking at running hell like running a Japanese company, which I think I've heard about, but the Mahjong no Akari games is very similar to that. So a lot of times Hozuki is overseeing many administration duties and the minions of hell. So all the minions of hell are going to be determined to punish humans who have died with sins. So he actually chases after Emma Dio, who he believes is an idiot. Mostly, he has a sarcasm, all right? And so this manga actually has an anime series. And so this is a manga series I really believe that should be read and read some more, because it is just that good.
Yeah, you're selling me, and I already really like the art of the cover, so it's going to lure me in somehow. But you know, I think we could, if we wanted to, we could do a whole video series just dedicated to anime and manga that deal with hell, or with death reapers, soul reapers, and we would not run out of stories to talk about.
We don't have time.
We do not have time, so that's all I'm saying on that score. I am going to focus my comments on Delicious in Dungeon, first released in English starting 2017 by Ryoko Kui. So I don't know if, I think Linda perhaps in our first session mentioned that she likes food manga. And so this combines the best of both worlds. It's food and it's fantasy. It's actually, what's the word? A group of adventurers in a dungeon, trapped in a dungeon, more or less trapped. And they find that they're down on their luck, they're out of money, and they just don't have cash to buy real food. So they are fortunate to come across this fellow who has dedicated his life to figuring out how to eat well in the dungeon, just using the monsters and carnivorous plants and whatnot that they encounter. This is this does not please all of the adventuring party equally. Some of them are entirely grossed out by the whole idea of eating certain things, but they cannot deny that they still taste delicious. And every time they make a meal, it gives the recipe for the meal, including these walking mushrooms or these beetles that erupt out of treasure and basically kill people, but they eat them anyway. And so it gives the recipe, and then it even gives the nutritional breakdown. So it's a lot of fun. It's well illustrated. I'm going to give you the link because I can, and show you the pretty pictures, or at least the pretty covers.
So probably another title that reminds me of Delicious in Dungeon is Toriko. I don't know if you've ever heard about it.
I've heard the name. I don't really know anything about it.
Toriko is about an adventurer trying to go to everywhere, who adventure to eat everything, but they have battles also. So think about the world like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, which is a children's novel. So think about that like that. Toriko is kind of similar to that. Yeah. But Toriko also meets Hunter x Hunter. It's very similar to Hunter x Hunter.
So here's the cover of the first volume of Delicious in Dungeon. It's really a story about the whole group, but this is our nominal lead, a knight armed in this case with frying pan and spatula. And part of what's motivating their band is that his sister got gobbled up by a dragon. And so they're trying to recover his sister and bring her back to life. This is not as easy as one might hope. And even if it is possible, it may have consequence. So there's a lot of humor, but there's also, you wonder how they're going to accomplish this story. And they encounter also, in addition to the monsters and whatnot, they also encounter other adventurers and have more or less interesting interactions with them. So, so that is.
I think Green Library has well, they just recently purchased volume 8 of this series.
Yes, so yeah, we have a pretty good range of volumes for that, unlike with older series like Gintama, where we've got what we've got, and if copies got lost, we're sad. But,
or we did.
Or we did. No! But, it happens. And
the binding for manga gets really loved, and the binding for it is really, really weak.
Very often. I mean, there are a few very high quality printings, but that's not always the case.
Those are expensive.
Oh yeah, and expensive does not always mean easy for libraries to buy. I wanted to say a little bit about the subgenres of seinen. We've got, as you said, there's a lot of different storylines, and subgenres could involve fantasy, mystery, a lot of horror, slice of life like Barakamon. Wait, Barakamon was Josei? I forget now. Anyway, oh dear. And then there are like classic series like Maison Ikoku by Ranma Takahashi, more well known currently for Inuyasha and Rinne. But Maison Ikoku is the story of this hapless, eventually a college student. He was a Ronin, and he failed the entrance exams the first go round. So when we meet him, he is trying to take the exams again, and he falls in love with the person who comes to manage his lodging house, and it takes them volumes and volumes and volumes and volumes and a lot of wacky side characters. And will they get together eventually? Who knows?
You realize that was a title I did not enjoy.
Yeah. Did you read the whole thing?
I did read the whole thing. I thought this should have.
You are entitled to say that you did not enjoy it.
But I have a friend who would kill me if I even mentioned it to him that I hate this, that I dislike this title.
Oh yes. Please don't share that with her friend, everybody. We want her alive. I'm just going to run quickly through some other titles. Erased, an excellent series available in both high-quality manga volumes in English and the anime, which has a cool soundtrack and it's just really gripping. Mushishi was mentioned, but well, in art feelings, it may be similar to what you just mentioned, Wandering, that one. Anyway, the Jiro Taniguchi book. Mushishi is a fantasy about a guy who helps communities deal with strange creatures that are not like any other creatures on Earth. They are mushi. And then there's My Neighbor Seki-kun, which is a 4-koma also. There's Urusei Yatsura, very old Rumiko Takahashi. Restaurant to Another World, you said you liked City Hunter Wakakozake, which is extremely funny in anime form, and I hope to see the manga someday.
There is the manga is actually out in English. The manga is out in English.
I believe you. Yeah.
And there's a lot of action for it.
Yes, I have seen that too, and it's so fun to see how the actress conveys the same feeling as the animated version. Black Lagoon, Aria, King Yosu's books, an underrated series that unfortunately is sort of lingering in not yet fully released form. The Walking Man, that was the book you said. And One Pound Gospel, yet another Rumiko Takahashi book. And XXX Holic is officially a seinen title. Who knows why? And Clamp. And Drops of God are also well known.
Drops of God is alcohol. You gotta make it seinen title because anyone under 21, you can't drink. Don't drink and drive.
No, absolutely not. Right, Kitty? Right. So, one thing about Cheese Sweet Home, the adorable story of a cat that is a seinen title, and mostly for Coma also, is that it's available in anime form and in manga form, and it has several titles that build by the same author that build on its popularity. And
it's like two or three more titles that have everything about theme of a cat. Yeah, kitties. Cats.
In addition to the Hell series of videos we could also do a cat series about anime and manga about involving cats in some way, and we would never see the end of it, and I would die happy. So, as I said, we are going to leave our BL and GL and generally LGBTQ, IA plus and queer related manga and anime for another time. So
we are getting really, really over the time by half an hour. We're over the time limit.
Actually, no, because we started at 4:30, remember? So we're just over by 8 minutes.
Oh, we're over by 8 minutes. Okay, sure.
Yes. But we need to be careful next time in case we do have guests, which we hope for next time. So we'll try to allow more time for you to talk as well as for us to talk. It is hard when we love to talk so much about these things we adore, but we can control ourselves, right?
We could try to control ourselves.
Okay, thank you for listening. Check your library for more manga and anime, virtually as well as physically. And
virtually. They have actually. I've started borrowing more virtual graphic novels right now.
Yes. You would be astonished how many. Check our previous session for more information about what you can get from the library. And thank you, and we will see you next time. Bye. Bye. Minasan.
Bye.
Bye.